I was raised in a family that is deeply devoted to music of all kinds, mostly classical. I grew up listening to a lot of classical music, a lot of jazz. I missed out on popular music by and large, both classic rock and what was popular when I was growing up. So my popular music knowledge is kind of woefully incomplete. I went to school to study music. I wanted to compose for film, or else compose, say, choral music or orchestral music in sort of an academic environment. And after leaving college, I was determined that I would never do anything remotely like that again in my entire life. In fact, I swore off music as a profession, and you can see where that got me. I moved to Alaska, and I'd wanted to move to New York or LA or somewhere to do film school. I was much more interested in writing for film at that point, or editing, or learning a trade associated with the film industry. Instead, I moved to Alaska, where there's not so much of that, and didn't know what to do with myself. So I just I waited tables. I had a bunch of odd jobs while I was up there, and completely fell in love with Alaska, with the people up there and the scenery and the way of life. While I was there, I started hearing a kind of music that hadn't really been on my radar before. That was singer-songwriter music, and which can include folk, it can include kinds of pop or alt-pop, indie music. And I had known some of that growing up. I had loved, say, Joni Mitchell and James Taylor and a number of other sort of acoustic artists, but I had never thought of it as something that was still happening or still possible. And I started hearing for the first time artists like Chris Delmhorst and Peter Mulvey and Greg Brown and a number of people that I really respected. I heard Joanna Newsom, and that changed my life. I just thought, I can do this. You know, I don't want to compose for film anymore. I don't want to be in academia. I don't want to teach music lessons, and I don't want to try and scramble to be a pop musician. But I can do this. I can write and I can sing. Two things happened. One was I saw Firefly for the first time, and the second was that I saw my first MySpace music page. And when I saw the first MySpace music page, I thought, the world has changed. Anything is possible on any scale now that the internet has made music delivery in this fashion possible. I realized that I could do this, that this was within my grasp, that I knew how to do all the steps that would lead me to making an album, and that the ones I didn't know how to do I could learn fairly easily. I booked a studio, I wrote some music, I contracted some musicians, I made an album, and it was just kind of a little side project at the time. It was fun. Because of the fandom community, some of my songs were leaked before the album even came out, and I found, much to my surprise, that I had some fans before the first album even came out. It was kind of shocking, because really I'd just done it for sort of family and friends and maybe small Alaskan audiences. And I was astounded by the response, and started gradually the work of keeping up with the response took up more and more of my time. I think within 3 months of releasing Vanilla, my first album, I realized I had to do it full-time or not at all. So I started doing it full-time. Fairly shortly after that, I started touring and realized that I could be quite happy with this life if it entails simply playing music and seeking out more opportunities to play music and making a living, sort of hand to mouth, where I would never want it if it involved climbing ladders and sucking up and trying to get the attention of some label. I have no interest in that. I have no interest in being a household name or in being recognized everywhere I go. But I do have. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful life to travel around and make music for people.